Welcome back to Jerry's Film Talks, and in this episode, we are going to be talking about what I watched this month, and this is the first episode in that series. So welcome to this episode, the very first one, where I talked about, you guessed it, what I watched last month. If you guessed that correctly, make sure you leave a like on this video because I really tried hard to get you to figure that out. Anyway, okay, so this one's probably going to be a little bit quick because I spent a lot of the month of March, I should say, traveling. So I didn't really get a lot of time to watch shows, but what I did was watch a couple things that were pretty small and started rewatches of other things, so let's jump right in. So if you haven't seen my video already where I discuss House of the Dragon, we're gonna start with it because it was the first show that I watched in March. I finished House of the Dragon, and I gotta tell you, man, House of the Dragon really took me by surprise. For a long time, I was not going to watch it. I was very adamant that it was a show that I was never gonna see because I really had such a bad taste in my mouth for Game of Thrones. As you know, if you watch this video here, you'll know how I feel about House of the Dragon, how I felt about Game of Thrones, but really, TLDR, Game of Thrones left a really bad taste in my mouth, so I completely stopped watching, didn't want to associate myself with anything involved. And then I got a lot of pressure from some people who I know who I used to watch Game of Thrones with. They were like, come on, watch House of the Dragon. Like, you don't know what you're missing. And I just felt like, okay, fine. If they're saying this and they know how I feel, then maybe there's some merit to it. So I finally gave in and I watched it. And it really does live up to everything I've heard about it and really reignited my feelings towards Game of Thrones for the positive. House of the Dragon is just absolutely fantastic. And again, I made a whole video on this, so I'm not going to go too far into this. But really, it is amazing to see such strong characters on a spin-off show of this, where it's kind of starting fresh and they're really taking a gamble because they started in a place where Game of Thrones was left in a very rough spot. So whatever came next in the Game of Thrones universe was kind of doomed to have some judgment preconceived, not just by me, but by other people. I mean, this was making headlines. This was all over YouTube at the time. But really, everyone in the cast just absolutely killed it, whether it was Patty Constantine as Viserys, whether it was Millie Alcock as Rhaenyra. I forget some of the actors and actresses' names, but those two really stand out because they just had such a wonderful dynamic and they were casted so well, both in the early versions of the show and then the future time skips when they got older. The castings were just fantastic. Even older Rhaenyra, Emma Dunsky, something, I forget her name, but fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And both of the Alicents were great. Regardless, the acting in House of the Dragon is so good. Matt Smith, who plays Daemon, does a great job as well. And just overall, the quality is there. Yeah, the CGI may not be there fully, but everything else is. Like, it is a really good show. It really is. And if you haven't seen it and you feel a similar way about Game of Thrones, I highly recommend it, but I'm not going to beat a dead horse too much because I already talked about this. I made a whole video about it. You could watch that video if you want to see how I really feel about House of the Dragon. But once I finished House of the Dragon, that leads me to the next show that I started rewatching because, you know, I have to rewatch shows sometimes. My girlfriend says all the time that watching shows on repeat is like a symbol of psychopathy, which I didn't even know is a thing, but apparently is a thing, but I don't care because when I like a quality show, I like a quality show, so I'm rewatching Game of Thrones. Also something I never, ever, ever thought I would say, because up until I saw House of the Dragon, I was like, I'm never, ever going to see anything Game of Thrones again. I don't care for it. But House of the Dragon got me really excited about Westeros again. I was really just down for it. And after watching House of the Dragon, I remembered that there was a lot of stuff in there that talked about what went on in George R.R. Martin's books, Dance of Dragons, which is kind of what House of the Dragons is going to build up to. And that's, I guarantee you, that's what it's going to become. But anyway, there's a lot of that sprinkled in Game of Thrones that I wanted to go back and see. And I also, after watching it, it made me think, was it really that bad? And even though the answer is still absolutely yes to me, the ending was still abysmal. it really brought back all these feelings of nostalgia, thinking, oh man, I just had such a good time watching some of those earlier seasons. So up to right now, I'm filming this on April 10th, so it's a little bit past March, but up to right now, I'm just starting season 3. I couldn't be happier because seasons 1 and 2 were just absolutely fantastic. They really were. And I missed it. I really did. I'm enjoying the blissfulness right now of being back in the world of Westeros when it was good. And the same thing holds true, to be honest with you. There was a couple plot points that I was never a big fan of, that being Daenerys is as really the strongest one and then Bronn as the other. But they do shine here in the same way. They don't shine like in a good way, in my opinion. They shine like proving my point that I don't like those storylines, but they're not terrible. The Khal Drogo storyline I liked more on this rewatch than I did the first time, and I'm glad about that because, look, I never went back to rewatch Game of Thrones. This is my first time rewatching it, and now that I've, I guess, a little bit of matured and, you know, I've understood the universe more, I've understood the story better, I could appreciate things a little bit more than I did at the time, and I really do appreciate the Khal Drogo story. I appreciate Daenerys' story even a little bit more, even though I don't like it or anything. And what has really surprised me on this rewatch was how much I absolutely hate Theon. I forgot how much I absolutely hated Theon. He really sucks. Like, he starts out really interesting, and then he goes through what he goes through, where he goes back to his Greyjoy family, and he wants to prove himself, and then he just becomes a thumb, and I hate him. And for a while, on my initial watch of Game of Thrones, Theon was one of my favorites because his arc was fantastic, and it still is, but watching it now is making me think, he was just really an asshole. But again, I didn't get to the juicy stuff with him yet. I only got to where he was bad and all of that stuff, so it could get better. I don't know. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this rewatch. I know what's in store, and I think that's going to help me in the long run. So as I said, I'm starting season 3 right now, so I know what's to come. I know the Red Wedding's right around the corner, and I know a lot of really, really crazy things are going to unfold. I can't wait for that to happen. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying this a lot. I never thought I would do this, and I am doing it. So yeah, that's the only other show that I'm like actively engaged in rewatching in March. And I mean, I guess since I didn't finish it, it's carrying over. So this is going to carry over throughout my April rewatch as well. But that's really it as far as what I watched. As far as shows go, the only other show that I watched this month, just here and there, sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes during work, I like to listen to background noise, so I'll put on a sitcom or like slapstick humor, just something to keep me going throughout the day. So I've been watching a lot of Always Sunny during work, but there's nothing new about that. I've been watching Always Sunny for years and years and years and years, but it's really good background noise for my videos at this point because I could quote everything. I don't need to actually watch it. I just enjoy listening to it. So yeah, I'll do that, but I've also been watching the Always Sunny podcast along with that a lot, so Always Sunny's been something else on my radar. Now, as far as movies I've watched, I've actually really haven't watched any movies in March. The only movie that I watched in March was another rewatch, and that was Airplane. And I'm thinking about making a whole different video just about Airplane because I truly do think Airplane is the best slapstick comedy ever, and it's I think the best comedy ever, but I could watch that movie a million times and still find something new to laugh at every time. I swear to God, I think I've seen that movie at this point over 50 times, like no joke, and each time I watch it, I find a little detail that is just so good. I think what makes the movie so special is these writers and directors, the Zucker brothers in particular, this was their like debut. And they really came out swinging because they understood comedy really well. And they knew how to block scenes. They knew how to film scenes really well for amateurs. Like, they really, really did. I learned recently how much of a box office success this movie was and how well it was praised at the box office, because I always kind of felt like this movie was one of those movies that didn't do well at the box office, but I was wrong. There's just so many interesting facts about this movie that I did not know, so I am going to make a video. I now figured it out. I am going to make a video all about Airplane. It is the best comedy of all time. It's inspired me forever, but I watched it in Nashville with some of my friends. We were bored one night after like going to the bars. We stayed up late and we were like, oh, let's put on Airplane, and everyone loved it because it's great. It is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing. I think you should stop this video right now and go watch it. I really do. I don't care about my metrics. I think you should go watch that movie like right now. So good. And yeah, that's really it as far as March went. But looking into April, there's some exciting stuff around the corner. And I already started some of them because now it's April 10th, like I said. So I've already started watching The White Lotus. And I think I should save it for April, so I probably am going to save it for April, but oh my God, it's awesome. It is awesome. It is a great story. It's like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's great. And I love every second of it, but I am going to save that more for April, so look out for that. You'll also see me talking about Game of Thrones because I'm still going to be watching that in April. And then as far as movies goes, I want to see Hereditary. That's a movie I really want to see. I also want to see, I think it's called Air, the Michael Jordan Nike story. I really want to see that. And I don't know. I haven't seen movies lately, so I'm thinking about watching a couple movies and then we'll talk about it. We'll make some videos and we'll make a recap after April. But yeah, thanks for watching this short video. That's really all I have in store for it. If you liked it, be sure to give it a like rating. This is a new series, so every month I'm going to be talking about what I watched. And I can't wait to see you on the next one. I also can't wait to see you on the next video, which will probably be out this week. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. Since this is more of just a chillax video, I'll be honest. I've been moving into this place these past couple weeks, and because I've been doing that, and because I was on vacation and all of that stuff, it's been a little hard to get back into the swing of posting like regularly, even though I have so many videos that I'm working on, like so many videos. Like take a look at this. I don't know if you could see this at all, but I have a running list of videos that I'm working on. And I don't know. Sometimes when you're on vacation mode, it gets really difficult to come like back to. And I guess I'm just really discovering that right now. But rest assured, I am back now that I have an actual setup. I'm fully in the swing, so I can't wait to make more content. And I don't know if you noticed, but I got a new camera lens and I really like it. So looking forward to making more videos and more creative stuff with it. But yeah, with all of that out of the way, if you're still here, thank you so much for watching to the end. Like this if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.